Welcome to the TMC Newsroom. Rich Tarani here. Thanks for watching us today. We're at Interop 2012 in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're speaking with Rand Wacker, who's the VP of Product Management at CloudPassage. Rand, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. Great to be here.
So I thought we'd start at the top. You've been on the program before, but just in case everyone hasn't seen that video, tell us what it is you do.
So we secure virtual servers running in public or private clouds. So if you have some type of servers running in an Amazon EC2 or a Rackspace or a GoGrid, then we would provide the security for those systems, which you would normally have in a data center that you may run yourself, but can't do in the public cloud for various reasons.
So, sounds to me like that would be more complex on the public side of things, right?
It is, because in the public cloud, you don't have access to the network or many of the similar data center resources you did in your own private data center. So people have to rethink what they're going to do from a security perspective because, frankly, all of the security needs are still there no matter where your servers are running.
And so you've got some secret special sauce that allows you to do that.
What we did basically was build a platform that could work within the public cloud constraints and handle all the dynamic nature and the constricted environment that you're running in, and then do the firewall management, two-factor authentication, vulnerability scanning, intrusion detection.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of trends you're seeing in the market, what's happening?
Well, it's interesting. So we're here at the Interop show where there are a number of IT infrastructure buyers, and we're seeing a lot of commonality from folks here who are exploring how they're going to use cloud. And there's really a few main use cases. Either they have developers that need a more agile delivery of resources, specifically computing servers that they can do their development on, and sometimes in IT it takes too long to provision those servers. So the developers are either going out and swiping their own credit card or working through IT to get those servers, and so the IT managers who are here at the show are now worried, well, how do I make sure that what they're doing out there is safe as if it were in my own data center? And that's essentially what we help them do.
Now, what's been the response when you tell companies about this?
Well, first of all, a lot of folks don't necessarily realize the risks out there in the cloud when they're running. One of the great things, yet a big challenge of the cloud, is that anyone can spin up a cloud server. You don't have to go to IT for all of your provisioning. And so when that happens, people who just are doing that because they need to get their job done maybe are not aware of the security needs there. And so one of the things that is really important we're starting to see happen in the industry is people are becoming aware that just like if you ran servers in your own data center and you would be responsible for the security of them there, same thing happens if you're running a server in the cloud, and it's very important for them to figure out how are they going to keep their applications and their data safe.
What are the compliance implications of the companies doing the first thing, what you just said a moment ago, and that is having, let's say, I'm going to call it a rogue department that decides to put, this happens all the time, that decides to put apps up in the cloud and doesn't deal with the security issues?
Yeah, I mean, the compliance implications there are very extreme. For people who are doing stuff outside of compliance, whether it's in the private data center or in the cloud, huge problems. What we're seeing and what we're helping people do now is that when they start moving to the cloud and they're under compliance regulations, we can provide the additional security functionality that's needed to meet PCI, HIPAA, other compliance regulations, which they would need in order to continue running their business in that public infrastructure.
Okay, so, and if they don't, and they're out of compliance, I mean, we're talking about massive fines, right?
Yeah, anyone
if they get caught.
Exactly, and so it's really worrisome if there's a rogue department doing it and IT doesn't know about it. But we are seeing now a lot of companies that are embracing and enabling people to do that because they have tools like ours that can help them move into the cloud safely.
Okay, in terms of competitive positioning, what are you telling customers that are looking for alternatives, and how do you compare?
There's a fair number of folks out there that believe that just because they're running a server with an Amazon or a Rackspace that the provider is securing their servers for them. But the providers are actually very clear that they take responsibility for their networks and their infrastructure, but security of the servers is left to the end user. Amazon's security statement actually recommends that end users install host-based firewalls, host-based intrusion detection, and those are exactly the things that we do.
So that was a really good point. I'm not sure that answered the question on just a competitive situation. Like if a customer, so what you're saying is that it sounds like the answer is that the really is no competitor, or is that what you're telling us?
Yes.
Or are you just...
Yeah, in that case, really the challenge is that the customers think that the provider's doing it, and the customer just doesn't know. When they realize they actually need the kind of security which we provide, that's when they realize actually there's no one else out there that does what we do in the cloud. There's plenty of excellent security technology which can manage your on-premise security, but when you're running servers in this infrastructure as a service world, honestly, we're actually the only people that do the firewalling, the intrusion detection, the vulnerability management for that cloud environment.
Now, what about just taking images of these applications and just putting them on top, or just taking an image and having, let's say, an instance of the software running and then dropping it on server by server basis? Does that not work? Is it an alternative?
So that would be an example of someone taking an application out of their private data center and then throwing it up in Amazon or something like that, I'm assuming. That's exactly the case that we actually help people secure, because in the private data center, they would have a perimeter of protection. They'd have firewalls and other devices which are protecting that application in that private data center. When they take that and they put that in a public cloud provider, the public cloud provider is very specific that they are actually not doing the same security things you would in your own private data center. And in fact, they often don't give you the ability to do that because you don't have access to the network, for an example. So when people want to migrate from private to public, or they want to spin up a new application in the public cloud, they first need to think about what operating system they're running, Linux or Windows. Then they need to put a security layer on top, and that's what we do. And then they can install their application and safely manage that from the cloud.
So what's next for your company?
Well, we're expanding in many different ways. One of the things that's really the most exciting is driving forth with many of the new providers that are doing more vertical specific things. So we see a lot of providers that are focusing on healthcare, focusing on finance. Each of these different areas have maybe vertical specific compliance regulations, but at the end of the day, it all comes back to the same set of security functionality, which is a best practice for any company, whether they're regulatory mandated or not.
Great, thanks for being here today.
Thanks very much.
Great job.
Great.